Deep in the heart of the Amazon, a young woman's fight for survival unfolded dramatically. It was Christmas Eve, 1971, a night filled with anticipation. Juliane Koepcke, a 17-year-old German-Peruvian, boarded Lancer Flight 508 in Lima, Peru. Destination Pucallpa, a remote jungle town deep in the Amazon. Juliane, filled with Christmas excitement, settled into her seat next to her mother. The plane, a Lockheed L-188 Electra, was their chariot into the vast green unknown. Little did they know, a terrifying ordeal awaited them in the jungle. The Amazon, unforgiving and vast, was about to test the limits of human endurance. The flight was turbulent from the very start. Storm clouds gathered, shrouding the plane in an eerie darkness. Lightning flashed, illuminating the worried faces of the passengers. Juliane's mother gripped her hand tightly, their eyes locked in a silent pact of fear. Then chaos erupted. A deafening roar tore through the cabin as the plane was engulfed in a blinding flash. The Electra, caught in the grip of a powerful thunderstorm, was going down rapidly. Panic seized the passengers as the plane plummeted towards the earth. The once calm and orderly cabin was now a scene of chaos and fear. People clutched their armrests, their faces pale with terror, while others frantically tried to reach their loved ones, their voices lost in the cacophony. Screams filled the air, competing with the howling wind and the sickening groan of metal under immense stress. The storm outside raged on, lightning illuminating the dark clouds, casting an eerie glow inside the cabin. The plane shuddered violently, each jolt sending waves of panic through the passengers. Oxygen masks dangled uselessly as the cabin depressurized. The sudden drop in pressure caused ears to pop painfully, and the thin air made it difficult to breathe. Passengers fumbled with the masks, their hands shaking, but the masks provided little comfort in the face of such overwhelming fear. Juliane, strapped into her seat, clung to her mother's hand, her knuckles white with terror. Her mother tried to offer words of comfort, but her voice was drowned out by the noise. Juliane's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the precariousness of their situation. In those heart-stopping moments, the world outside became a blur of green and brown as the rainforest hurtled closer. The dense canopy of trees seemed to rise up to meet them, and the realization of their impending crash became all too real. The once distant ground was now a terrifyingly close reality. Then, with a bone-jarring impact, everything went black. The force of the crash was immense, throwing passengers and debris around the cabin. The sound of tearing metal and breaking glass was deafening, and then silence. Juliane regained consciousness to a scene of utter devastation. The once intact airplane was now a twisted wreck. Pieces of the fuselage scattered around her. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning fuel. Her head throbbed and her body ached from the impact. She was still strapped into her seat, dangling among the shattered remnants of the plane's cabin. The seatbelt had saved her life, but now it felt like a prison. Holding her in place amidst the chaos, she struggled to unbuckle it, her fingers numb and uncooperative. Trees, impossibly close, whipped past as the wreckage plunged through the rainforest canopy. The branches tore at the remnants of the plane, slowing its descent but causing further damage. The sounds of the jungle, once distant, were now all around her, a constant reminder of her isolation. The air was thick with the smell of jet fuel, burning metal, and the damp earthiness of the jungle. The smoke stung her eyes and filled her lungs, making it difficult to breathe. The once vibrant rainforest was now a scene of destruction, the crash leaving a scar on the landscape. Disoriented and injured, Juliane frantically called out for her mother, her voice swallowed by the cacophony of the rainforest. Each call was met with silence, the jungle absorbing her cries. The realization that she was alone began to set in, a cold dread creeping over her. There was no reply, only the eerie silence of the jungle closing in around her. The once lively forest now felt like an oppressive, silent entity watching her every move. Juliane knew she had to find help, but the vastness of the jungle made her feel small and insignificant. The journey ahead was daunting, but she had no choice but to press on. The wreckage finally came to a halt with a sickening thud. The once mighty aircraft was now a twisted heap of metal, swallowed by the relentless embrace of the Amazon rainforest. Juliane, miraculously still strapped to her seat, found herself suspended several feet above the jungle floor. The seatbelt that had saved her life now held her captive, dangling precariously above the dense undergrowth. She was alone, surrounded by the wreckage of the plane and the dense, unforgiving foliage of the Amazon. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant calls of unseen creatures. Injured and disoriented, she managed to unbuckle her seatbelt and fall to the soft earth below. The ground, though cushioned by layers of leaves and moss, felt like a hard slap against her already bruised body. The impact sent shockwaves of pain through her body. Every movement was a reminder of the violent crash, each breath a struggle against the agony that threatened to overwhelm her. She lay there for what seemed like an eternity, the sounds of the rainforest slowly penetrating her daze. The rustling of leaves, the distant calls of birds, and the hum of insects became a symphony of survival. As the adrenaline ebbed away, the full horror of her situation dawned on her. She was in the middle of one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, with no immediate hope of rescue. She was the sole survivor of a plane crash, stranded in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. The vast expanse of green seemed to stretch endlessly, a living, breathing entity that both awed and terrified her. Fear, raw and primal, threatened to consume her. The unknown dangers of the jungle loomed large in her mind, each shadow a potential threat, each sound a harbinger of doom. But deep within Juliane, a flicker of determination ignited. She knew that succumbing to fear would be her undoing. She had to harness every ounce of strength and willpower to survive. Her father, a renowned biologist who had taught her about the jungle, had always emphasized the importance of staying calm in a crisis. His lessons, once abstract, now became her guiding principles. She clung to his words like a lifeline. She had to survive. The jungle, with all its perils, also held the key to her survival. She remembered her father's advice about finding water, avoiding dangerous animals, and using the natural resources around her. Gathering her strength, Juliane knew she had to move. Staying in one place would only increase her chances of being found by predators. She needed to find a way out, a path to civilization. With each step, she pushed through the dense foliage, her mind focused on survival. The jungle was both her enemy and her ally, a place of danger but also of potential salvation. She had to keep moving, keep fighting, and above all, keep believing that she would make it out alive. The jungle was a sensory overload, an overwhelming symphony of life and death. Humid air hung heavy, thick with the buzzing of insects and the cries of unseen creatures. The cacophony was relentless, a constant reminder of the jungle's untamed nature. Towering trees formed a dense canopy, casting long shadows and filtering the sunlight into an emerald gloom. The interplay of light and shadow created an almost mystical atmosphere, where every step could lead to discovery or danger. The forest floor was a treacherous tangle of roots, vines, and rotting vegetation. Each step was a gamble, as the ground could give way to hidden pitfalls or venomous creatures lurking beneath the foliage. Juliane, weak and in pain, knew that time was against her. Every moment spent in the jungle increased her risk of infection, dehydration, and further injury. She had a fractured collarbone, a deep gash on her arm, and countless cuts and bruises. Each wound was a testament to the violence of her ordeal, a reminder of the crash that had brought her to this unforgiving place. But it was the psychological wounds that were most debilitating, the shock, the fear, the crushing loneliness. The mental toll of her situation was immense as she grappled with the reality of her isolation and the uncertainty of her survival. Yet, amidst the despair, a spark of hope flickered. It was a fragile thing, easily extinguished by the overwhelming odds, but it was there, a beacon in the darkness. Juliane remembered a crucial piece of advice from her father. Follow a stream. This simple piece of wisdom became her lifeline, a strategy to navigate the vast, uncharted wilderness. Streams, he had told her, would eventually lead to a river, and rivers often led to civilization. This knowledge gave her a sense of direction, a goal to strive towards in the midst of chaos. Clinging to this sliver of hope, Juliane, with the determination of someone far older than her 17 years, began her perilous journey through the green labyrinth. Each step was a testament to her resilience, her refusal to succumb to the jungle's many threats. She was alone, injured and hunted by fear, but she was not broken. Her spirit remained unyielding, a force that drove her forward despite the overwhelming odds. Juliane Koepcke was ready to fight for her life. Her journey was far from over, but with each passing moment she grew stronger, more determined to survive. The jungle was a formidable adversary, but Juliane was a fighter, and she would not give up easily.